Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to winterize one of these Mercruiser 3-liter engines. If you guys have been enjoying the videos, if you want to smash the like button down below and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any further content in the future, I greatly appreciate it. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the fuel line that's connected to the mechanical fuel pump. So this guy does not have a fuel water separator. What we're going to do is remove this and connect our 6-gallon tank that's got our winterization juice to it. Once that's all done, we'll fire up the engine and then run for about 15-20 minutes. And then we'll come to the side of the engine and drain these. This one bottom one's for the block, and this one up here is going to be for the manifold. We'll drain these and get all the water out as possible. And just for the top view so you guys can see it, the manifold one will be facing up, and the block one will be right around here. And then after that, we'll remove all these hose clamps and remove all these hoses, and we'll blow out all the hoses, make sure all the water is out of the engine. But first, let's just get that fuel line off and fire up the motor for about 15-20 minutes. You can see here this fuel line is pretty stiff, so just be ready for that to happen. If that happens to you guys, sometimes you can cut it back, but this guy didn't really have that much room to, cut back the hose. So we'll probably ask him to replace it in the future. But we'll just connect our 6-gallon tank and then give it a couple pumps, and we'll fire up the engine. Now that we ran the motor long enough, we'll remove the fuel line and reconnect the customer's fuel line and make sure that we don't forget this, because if you forget this, the guy will try to start up his engine in the springtime and the motor won't fire up, and it's just because you may have not tightened up the hose clamp or forgot to put the fuel line back on. It's happened to me a couple times before in the past, but it's just something to keep in mind, guys. Now, if you were going to be doing an oil change, basically I can tell you right now, you just basically pull the dipstick right here, suck it out of there, and then you can crack the oil filter, maybe put like a bucket or rag underneath it. You can crack that open, the oil drain right down, and you remove it, and pretty much that's how you do an oil change. But we're going to jump over here on the other side of the motor and pull the drain plugs. Now, I always go for the block one first because it's going to be really hot water. You go for the manifold, it can get on you, and it can be pretty hot and burn you. For the manifold one, you can see it's not really draining that well, so a lot of times you have to go in with a pick, and usually when you go in the pick, it'll break up all that debris and rust or whatever is inside the manifolds, and the water will pump out. You can see all the steam coming off. It's kind of a nice little cleaning thing too. So if you got your bilge dirty, the nice hot water will clean that out. Now while that's draining, we'll remove all 3 of these hoses off from the thermostat housing. And the reason we're going to be doing this is we're going to be putting air pressure through this. You'll be really surprised how much water will come out when you put air pressure through all these hoses with the drain plugs out. So we're going to get these all off, and then we're going to be putting air pressure through them and make sure it's all good. So this one's for the block, that one's for the manifold, and it runs all the way to the back. This hose right here, you got to make sure you blow this one out, because you can see it runs all the way to the back. This one goes to the outside. If you do not blow it out, it could crack. And this is just a tool I'm using, the hose tool. It just breaks the seals of all the hoses to make it easier to basically pull off. You can see all the rust. You can hear actually the crunch every time I break the seal of this. If you don't have this, it can be a pain. But a lot of times you can use like a flat base screwdriver or something like that. But if you don't have this tool, it's kind of nice to have to do this service on yourself at home instead of having to come to like my shop or something like that and pay for us to do it. Now all we're going to do is put some air pressure through this big hose, and we're going to be doing this for a little bit, because when you look over here on the side of the engine, you can see how much water. Now this engine stopped draining, so the only reason this water is coming out is because I'm putting air pressure through it. If you guys don't do this, you'll see how much water it just dilutes, and it's also because of rust prevention. You have water in there, it starts rusting the interior of your engine. You want to get the antifreeze in there, and antifreeze acts as a rust prevent. And that way, when you come in the springtime, your engine's not going to have any problems. And the same thing here, we're just, for the manifold doesn't really hold as much, but you can still see there's still a decent amount of water that was in there. If you didn't do this, the water would sit in there. And again, you have some rust buildup. It just takes an extra couple steps, and you'll save your engine. Now this hose is very important to blow out, because this does not drain by just pulling the drain plugs on it. You got to blow this out because it's filled with water. Once you feel confident you got all the water out, you can start threading in the drain plugs, and then we can start tightening them down. Now, when you go tighten these, you want to hand thread them, and then just don't go crazy and tightening them down. You want these to come out pretty easily next year. If you don't, it can be a real pain to get them out. So just don't go too crazy, and it'll be fine. Now, I work at a shop, so I got this hose that's connected to a pump that's outside of the boat, and I have this little valve. I can control the flow of the antifreeze come through in this remote. Now, you can just use gallons of jugs if you're doing this at home. I just have this because I work at a shop. Now, we're going to fill this up, and you're seeing the antifreeze is coming out of the thermostat housing, and we're going to do that with all 3 of these hoses. The other 2 hoses will come outside the boat. This hose is the only one that will actually come out of the thermostat housing. When you go to fill up the manifold one, you want to see the antifreeze come out right here out of the exhaust. That's how you know you got all the water out and fresh antifreeze is in. Now, that hose that I told you guys you need to blow out, you want to fill up an antifreeze as well. You'll see it's coming right out of the water pickup as well as like the lower unit itself. Once we've done all that, we can start putting the hoses all back together. You can see them, they'll stay filled with antifreeze and help keep that rust prevention inside your hoses as well as inside the engine. So all we're going to do is get them all back on and tighten them down, and pretty much that'll be the end of the video. Again, I didn't show you guys doing gear lube or anything like that. The other technician doing that while I was doing just the engine part. Obviously, you're going to want to stabilize your fuel. You're going to want to grease your fittings. You want to remove your battery and top off any other fluids. If you want to do, you can do an oil change. You don't have to do an oil change if you don't use the motor that much. Other than that, it's pretty much the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed it, please smash the like button down below and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.